Hi, and thank you for tuning in to today's video, in which I'm going to flip through my new pride and joy, which is this book here. I'm calling it the Astrologer's Treasury. Now, typically, if we hear the word treasury, we think of gemstones and gold and luscious riches like coins and strands of pearls. But in this case, it's a treasury of knowledge and a treasury of paper ephemera. So if you're like me and you love collections of rare antique papers and stamps and things that are coffee dyed and aged and distressed, and books that have big wide openings dripping in charms and embroidered fabrics from faraway lands, then stay tuned because this book is for you. Right, so here it is up close and personal. I can never really get the frame of my camera such that it shows the entire cover of the book all at once. I think it's because my tripod doesn't have a long enough reach, which is why I felt compelled to do the little face in front of the camera intro for this one. But now that we are zoomed in on the details, I am so in love with the way this turned out. Pardon the background noises, my cats like to systematically knock all the craft supplies off my desk whenever I ignore them to film a video. But yeah, this one, as you can see from the cover, I used all kinds of different materials and trims and yarn goodies to make the decorations. Starting with this boho bead right here that's using some beautiful embroidered fabric from India with some hot pink ribbon and these pretty little beads that looked reminiscent to me of astronomical symbols. They kind of look like little stars. And there's the evil eye protection bead, and the most important little dangly on this boho bead piece is a star made of natural sodalite. So that's a natural gemstone. It's not glass like the other beads. And then the boho bead is made of all different types of yarns and trims, including some pretty pastel in black and some pretty kind of gold and black. And this whole thing is removable. So I've attached it to a bulldog clip or a binder clip, which means you can either keep it on the book decorating your astrology journal, or you can clip it to whichever book or even a purse or something, like wherever you choose to put it. So once that's removed, the cover design features a fairly subtle triple moon symbol. I made this using some beautiful gold crocheted trim and some fabric paints. So if somebody doesn't really know what that symbol is, they may not recognize it at first, and that makes this kind of one of the first little hidden messages or secret symbols within this journal. Besides that, the black and gold trim on the top and bottom is not just ornamental, it's also functional, because I only sewed it down on the sides and the bottom and left the top open as a pocket. So I've stuck one of my business cards in the top pocket. Of course, you can take that out and replace it with whatever you choose. And in the bottom pocket, I've included a little gift of washi tape samples with an astrology theme, so different constellations and stars. You can either use that tape in your crafts or your journaling, or use it to decorate this book. You'll notice throughout this flip through, I put a lot of stickers loose in the book. Like, my nature is such that I'm tempted to decorate every square centimeter of a book that I'm making. And I kind of have to hold myself back a little bit, remembering that whoever buys this book will want to make it their own and give it their own decorations. So yeah, it's a simple ribbon closure looped into the grommets that I put in the front and the back. The back cover is mainly unadorned. It's this really cool, heavy canvas space printed material. And I stuck just one moon and star iron-on transfer to give it a little bit more visual interest. And from the side, I think this one just looks so inviting, so chunky, so full of color. And yeah, into the ribbon on the front, I put one little star charm on a bulb pin. So there we have it, opening up, looking at the inside. The front inner corner cover has the Sun tarot card. And that ties in, you'll notice, I'm not going to show you yet, but it ties in with the back where I've put the moon. There are some sticky notes that I've stuck down here that you can use, and they're shaped like a beautiful purple moon. There's a printout of a really old astrological symbol art. And I've kind of distressed it. I printed this on a linen texture paper, so if you look closely, there's like a hatchwork or a hatched grid in the paper texture. And that's a gorgeous cotton linen that I feel gives my printouts. I just got this. I was already finished the main binding part of the book, so you'll see that in a couple of the ephemera pieces. And I feel that it takes it a step beyond just prints on paper, on ordinary printer paper, because that texture and kind of the ivory color make it look authentic. It doesn't look like a printed piece, it looks like the original artwork. So this lady here, to me, the look in her eye, how she's kind of looking off to the distance, it's so mysterious. She's so beautiful, dripping in her jewels. So she felt to me like the perfect embodiment of an astrologer's treasury. She looks like she could be an astrologer or a palm reader or a tarot reader. And then the belly band here is made out of embroidered trim from India. And of course, as you can see, I put a little snippet on the corner here to adorn this journaling card. The back is this pretty purple that it's a light enough design that you could write on this, or you could draw on it or journal on it. Personally, when it comes to journaling, the cards in the inner front cover, I like to write my goal for keeping the book, like my purpose or the intention behind the book. So that's one idea to do with it. Then on the front page, the very first page is this beautiful digital paper that I printed from Medieval Mirage, the Bohemian kit. And I made this pretty bookmark dangle using some more embroidered Indian trim and adding some of the leftover yarn from the boho tassel on the front. Put some of this pretty hot pink fringe on it. And of course that comes off, so you can use this as a bookmark, use it as a paper clip, keep it in this book, move it to another book as you wish. And I kind of had a theme throughout this journal of secret keeping, or like keeping the mystical or mystery tradition of astrology alive for whoever uses it. And so this beautiful mystical vintage print is not just framed by this pretty paper. By the way, this rainbow paper here, I dyed it myself using kind of an improvised coffee dye technique where I took sheets of different colors of printer paper. I think the package is called Ultra Bright, where you get different colors of paper together for your inkjet printer. And so I put a piece of regular white paper down and then just strips of the dark blue, light blue, and purple printer paper, and then I poured coffee over the whole thing. And it created this beautiful, it almost looks like it's been watercolored or dyed or something. Maybe I'll do a demo video on how to do that if you're interested. But yeah, that can be journaled or written on the back. And then I only glued down the edges, so this whole thing is a secret tuck spot, so you can hide some, maybe write a little note to yourself that you wouldn't want anyone else to see or to know about, and they wouldn't know that it was there unless you showed them that the pocket opens. And then that pops back. And on the other side, whoops, I've pinned this twice. On the other side of the page, there's more beautiful Medieval Mirage print, and also some prints by Priscilla at Release the Craftin. Boy, and I forget the name of the shop where this one came from, but I've used printables from multiple different shops in this book because to me, that just adds to the variation. I love having a combination of different prints and patterns. And then this gorgeous image I found online, and I added a little bit more, a little sample of this string that is also in the boho tassel, because the colors match so perfectly. Look at this chandelier, which is like, to me, the chandelier itself represents planets going around the central sun, and this fairy queen looking figure is actually a comet. Pérégrination d'une comète. So she's, that beautiful train in her dress is like the tail of the comet behind her. And of course there's the tab of this stunning embroidered Indian trim. I used a lot of Indian trims in this one because to me that's what makes a boho journal so special, are these details of sequins and jewels and gold and embroidery. I should mention there's some music paper backing this gorgeous lady. Oh yeah, I also wanted to mention the reason I included her. In India, I've always been fascinated by tarot. I was a professional tarot reader before I started my Etsy shop, and at the time I got really interested in the origins and the history of tarot. And I don't ascribe to the belief that it originates in Europe or even in the Middle East. I think it comes from India, because for thousands of years there's been a temple tradition that women who are fortune tellers would keep trained parrots with them in the temples. And when it was time to read someone's fortune, they would spread cards down, and it would be the parrot who selects the cards for the reading. So the divination wasn't just the person shuffling the cards and picking their own cards. There were birds involved, which I think is so sweet. And of course this is a dove, not a parrot, but it reminded me of that tradition of cartomancy that developed in India before it spread to any other parts of the world. So she's another mystical figure with her beautiful veils of cloth and her jewels, and her bird that I'm imagining is trained in divination. This pretty gilded sticker that shows the constellations and the astrology signs. This pocket opens, and there's just a piece of starry night sky paper tucked inside. Another gorgeous print. More of this pretty Medieval Mirage paper. Some more of that Indian embroidery. Now this piece, this is also from Medieval Mirage, the Bohemian Bazaar kit. And I love this little envelope because it is filled with journaling space. And so I printed on the reverse side this kind of light night sky star space stuff. And I put this Oracle of Delphi print and a couple of matching little papers that you can use either as note papers, you can write little lists on that, or you can write little secret messages to yourself to keep in your journal. And that all tucks into this belly band on this coffee dyed. I deliberately crinkled it up and coffee dyed this lined paper. And of course, more embroidered Indian trim. And then this page is lined with lace and with these little cute bunches of mini tassels. And on a bulb pin, I put this star and moon. Sorry, pardon the background noise. My windows are open because it's a little warm today and street noise is coming in. But yeah, the sun and moon charm adorning that dark, dark blue. And then I love how these papers, I printed 2 of the same so that we could get this full page spread effect. And then this is one of my favorite pages. This clear transparency I put over top of this digital paper so that you wouldn't lose any of this space by collaging blank paper to write over top, so you can still write on this full page and then flip up the tracing paper to reveal these amazing antique diagrams of the unicorn and tools used for observing the stars. And then on this page here, I've actually just stapled in the corner some space-themed papers that flip down so you can write on the backs of these papers or just tear them out and use them. And I put a sticker to hide the back of the staples just so that it wouldn't be dangerous, so it wouldn't snag on your clothes or risk getting a little staple cut. That little tag can be journaled on the back. This cool print that shows a little circle dance of all the astrology signs. And of course you can journal on the back. I made a tuck spot for it using some clipped snippets of Indian textile. And then on the other side, I used a clipping of one of my favorite black embroidered saris to create a big pocket where I've put 2 oracle cards from the Moonology oracle deck and some little stickers. They're like reinforcers for binder paper. And I'm not going to show which oracle cards these are. That's a message for the owner of this journal, whoever chooses to buy this piece. I didn't even look at what the cards are, so I drew them randomly. There's a little message for you. More printables. Here's another piece. This is a piece of paper I used. Remember how I said I laid down different colors of paper on a white background to get that gradient? Here's one of those colored papers. So this is what happens when you coffee dye a paper that's already colored. It leaves these amazing patches. It reminds me of the sea when you see a picture of the ocean from space. I just love how that turned out. More printables. Here's some cool handmade paper with little golden streams in it. This is one of my favorite things inside the book. I made this little removable tab. So the way we have lots of little sari border tabs in here, this is one that actually comes right off. And inside it is a tiny little mini book. And I filled it with a few stickers that you can use, different types of paper. And so that's what I mean when I say that this journal is filled with little secret spots to do more journaling. And yeah, if somebody looked at this, they would never guess that there's a journal inside one of the tabs. And then I've held this pretty tag in its place. And it's backed just with some dictionary paper that I stamped. And this brings us to the center of the signature, one of my favorite super rough pieces of coffee dyed paper. I actually dyed this paper in a 3-step process. So first I just dyed the whole paper with coffee, and then the next day I took a paintbrush and smeared coffee grinds on it. And once those grounds were smeared on it, I let them dry, then I dyed it again and brushed them away. And that's where we get some lighter spots and some darker spots, which to me look like those NASA images that come back when they take pictures of the surface of Jupiter. It was hard for me to bind this into the book. I actually kind of wanted to keep this page for myself, but I made it specifically for this journal, so that's a special little something. And then the very centerpiece is this little coffee dyed doily, and the waxed cotton holding everything in place. I've put little dangles of these handmade lamp-worked glass beads in kind of a midnight blue color with the handmade details. There's a little bit of purple in these petal details. And then this is quite possibly my favorite bead ever. It's a Tibetan inlay bead, and it reminds me of a piece of astronomical equipment from years gone by. Doesn't that look like it would be in an observatory? Like each little dark lapis blue center could be a different spoke in a wheel aimed at the night sky or something. My imagination goes wild when I make books like these. More print pages. And people sometimes ask, like, how do you journal on a dark page like this? And so if you're not sure how to use a junk journal, this kind of page could be written on using a gel pen, like either a metallic or a white or a light colored gel pen. Or you can take sticky notes and just stick them all over it and write on those, or you could do collages. There's all kinds of different things. You have to kind of let your imagination run when you're journaling in a junk journal. Here's another one of my favorite embroidered Indian trims. And then I had fun using this old envelope. I coffee dyed this, put some pretty celestial washi tape, and I stuck just a folded up piece of coffee dyed grid paper in here. And grid paper, again, it's kind of like navigating by the stars. You would use grid paper to chart your course. And I almost stuck this sticker down on the envelope to decorate it, but like I said, I held myself back from sticking all the stickers down, thinking maybe whoever gets the book would rather do that themselves. And then this is one of my favorite pages. Again, I think I've said that a few times, but I love things that are tactile, that are interactive, that allow you to kind of fidget and fiddle with the book. So I used a brad shaped like a star to hold down this little zodiac wheel. And I put a coffee dyed doily behind that has all kinds of little wheels on it. So this spins and the wheel spins. And because I finished this book in September, I decided to have the little star point up at Virgo because it's Virgo season. So if you start working in this journal and feel inspired to do so, you could kind of move this as the months go by so that the star is pointing like a calendar to whichever sign we happen to be in. And then I made the pocket here out of some gorgeous gilded paper. This is called Eastern Opulence, the paper pack. And in that I put a bookmark that I made by sewing together two sides of this pretty star ribbon. And then I stuck some fun trims on it and filled it with little strips of scrap papers that were left over from bookmaking. So again, here's a little secret journaling spot. You can write on all of those papers, you can write on any paper strip and stick it into this bookmark. And it's a totally secret place to keep some journaling. Because I don't know about you, but if I didn't know this opened, I would not think that a bookmark held strips of paper that you can journal on. So little secret messages. On this page I put an old piece of paper from a 1960s yearbook, and I created a little tuck spot using more of that Eastern Opulence paper. I love this light pink paper, gilded to look like a sari. And the back is just blank, so there's a spot to write some stuff. And I'm not going to unclip it, but this is actually an envelope that I made. So you can unclip that and stuff more papers into the envelope. There's a pretty tuck spot using this Waterhouse painting where I've put this paper that's also like a journaling card. More of that pretty tassel trim. I love this old painting. I've put a few little dots of gold paint on that too, so when the light catches it, it really shimmers. And I made a mini book to go in that pocket using this print that I found online. Another really cool zodiac wheel. More Medieval Mirage printable paper. And the pages of this book are just a combination of coffee dyed papers. Some of them fold out. And just paper scraps from my collection. I love this starry trim. More coffee dyed paper, more printables. Here was something really fortuitous. While I was working on this book, I really randomly one day decided to walk to a local thrift store right after the lockdown ended here. And I thought, like, if I find any books about space or about astrology, I'm going to buy them and use a page in this journal. And sure enough, there was a book about astronomy, but inside it had this cool little section about how ancient peoples viewed the night sky and had their own astronomical history. So there's the Egyptian goddess Nut, who was the night sky, and I love the stars on her. And a ceremonial mask used to honor the sun by the ancient Ecuadorian people. And I couldn't decide which page to use, so I gave 4 pages of this book to whoever buys this book. There's how the Great Pyramids are aligned with the stars in Orion's belt. There's some modern observatories. And yeah, I couldn't bring myself to cut out any of these pictures because whichever picture you cut out, you lose whatever's on the other side. So I just folded this up and stuck it in with a paper clip so that my favorite part of the image of the sky goddess was showing. So there's a little bonus gift. This page here is another favorite of mine. Just how opulent, how just luxurious is this embroidered piece of sari trim. It has golden sequins and little tiny pearls and just my favorite shades of navy blue and teal and pink that just perfectly match the colors of trim used throughout this book. And when that flips up, there's some coffee dyed paper that I folded up and stuck down, held in place with this star-shaped paper clip. And then inside the pocket, I've put a couple of envelopes. This one is a genuine piece of vintage ephemera. It's an envelope that went through the mail from the Congo to France, and it's postmarked 1960s, so really cool old piece of mail. And I had a bit of trouble trying to decipher the handwriting on the back, but what I can read says "Élevé de l'école," so this would have been like the schoolmaster sending something to the manufacturers of l'UEC. So I'm not sure what they manufactured, but it's pretty neat. Little piece of historic ephemera. And that just goes into the pocket here. And then this piece I actually have the original of this envelope. It's a first day of issue Israeli stamp featuring the zodiac wheel. And so I scanned this, printed it out, folded it up into a little envelope made of more of this cool textured linen paper. And I inked the edges to make it look really antique, and then added a little sticker of the same print that I used for this front card. Oops. So there's like a little bit more texture. And then inside I put a little packet filled with space-themed stickers that you can either use in the journal or just wherever you want to stick an astrology sticker. It's funny, I'm trying to rush so that this video isn't ridiculously long, but I'm also conscious not to leave out any little details. But anyhow, that brings us to the very last page, and I kind of saved the best for last, I think, because of all the sari trims used in the book, this one is my absolute favorite. It looks like these flowers are blooming after midnight because of that midnight blue background. And then on this page, I created a belly band using a print that was in an art history textbook that I found at a thrift shop. So this isn't printed, like this is the actual page of that book that I folded as a triptych. And it's showing the interior of a little chapel, but I absolutely love the hand-painted ceiling and that field of dark blue with the hand-painted little golden stars. And so where that flips, I actually glued down some drafting paper over top of the book print pages so you can write and journal here. And what's cool is the newsprint I glued down reacted with the glue and turned this dingy yellow color. That was unintentional, but I actually really love how it turned out. And then this flips over, and then this cool piece of sequin trim actually doubles as another little belly band. So if you want to stick something in here, you totally can. And then what this is holding is another little envelope that I printed out from the Medieval Mirage collection. And I stuck some fabric scraps on the top and bottom to give it some texture. Inked the edges after cutting out the envelope, and then stuffed it with lots of little printed papers that match the design. So like I said, I call it the Astrological Treasury because if you're like me and you love paper and ephemera and embroidered fabric and pretty little charms that match the theme, like that one there, then I'm sure you'll find this book to be a treasure trove. And then the inside of the back pocket, I actually stuffed this pocket made out of Indian trim with printables about astrology. So there's an astrology card, and then there's one card for each of the visible 9 planetary bodies, along with the astrological and magical symbols that they represent. And I absolutely adore these printables. I rounded the edges, inked the edges black so that they look a little bit less like just something printed on cardstock and more like actual cards. And then the backs, I printed more really beautiful Medieval Mirage papers. Jarf, the graphic designer who has that shop Medieval Mirage, I absolutely love her designs. Like, to me, they look so authentic, so ancient, and they just take your printables to the next level. So there we have it. And like I said at the beginning, the inner front cover has the sun, the inner back cover has the moon, and I feel like that just symbolically brings the book to that complete state. And that's it. The Astrologer's Treasury. So I hope you enjoyed this little flip through. I hope you find the book as magical as I meant it to be, as magical as I find it, with all the little clips and all the little hidden tuck spots and all the little charms. And whoever buys the book, I would be curious to know which little oracle cards you have from the Moonology deck. I'm tempted to peek, but no, I'm saving that as a secret message for whoever buys this book of secret treasures. Much love, happy crafting, happy journaling, and I look forward to hearing from you in the comments if you feel so compelled to leave one. Bye for now.